Hi everybody, just a short video about common mistakes people make with halogen work lights, in particular these quite high wattage ones. Here is one I just purchased, an Arlic 500 watt work light, and the main problem people have with these is they keep on blowing up the tungsten bulbs, and the two main ways people do this, I'll explain real quick. So they come like this out of the box, so you got to put the filament in yourself. This is what it looks like. You got to slot it into here, and the main reason people have problems with these is they end up blowing up within the first or second time of turning the light on, and the reason for that is misuse or mishandling the tungsten filament here. As you can see, it's a very long filament, a glass tube, and people, mechanics, imagine if you're a mechanic with dirty oily hands and you touch the bulb, you'll be leaving a film of grease on that filament. And what happens is when you turn it on, these produce a lot of heat, and what happens is the oil burns and it actually changes. Although these are designed to get hot, you don't want a naked flame touching it because it changes the state of the glass slightly, and it would make it prone to shattering and then blowing out the tungsten tube or filament in the tube. So that's the first problem I have, and even with clean hands you'll have the same problem because the natural oils which are on your fingers will do this exact same thing. So I always handle them, taking out the box, that's what it comes in, and then you make sure you don't touch it, and I use actually the plastic bubble wrap to handle this tungsten filament while I put it in. And that's the main problem people have. They'll touch the bulb and then it blows up within the first or second time of turning it on once it heats up. And the second main problem people have is shocking the lamp while we're working. So you want to put it in a position where you never really touch it while it's hot, because these are very fragile, very long filaments, and it doesn't take much of a shock to make these things break down and then blow up, and then you've got to replace a bulb. So if you're using halogen, I recommend mounting it to a place where you'll never really touch it while you're working. I've got one set up here on the roof, pretty agricultural setup, but it works great to shine light onto my workbench. And this thing here will never get moved while it gets turned on, so this would last a very long time. I'll turn it on. So there we go, a very bright light. So that's the lighting I've got set up in here. And over here I've got LED lights. If you're using halogen work lights, I do not recommend getting one which sits on a tripod, because then you're prone to moving it around the workshop and you'll be very likely to shock it slightly. Even moving the tripod just a little bit, like that, dropping it down onto the ground, that could even be enough to weaken the filament to make it blow up. So if you're going to have a workshop where you're having it on a tripod, I recommend LED lights, which are the ones I have up here, which actually came on this tripod, but I decided to mount them up there because they were right at my eye level on this tripod and it was not very nice, too bright to my eyes. So yeah, that's the two main problems people have, is when they're installing the tungsten bulb here, they touch the glass. You do not want to do that. And then the second problem people do is they move them around while they're hot, and that shatters it makes the filaments vibrate around and then blow up. So it's like a spring. You can't really see it in the video, but it's a long spring, and once that gets a bit of a vibration in it, they all blow up. So if you're going to be moving a halogen work light around, you make sure it's fully cooled down by the time it's you move it. They get very hot. You obviously don't want it too close to anything combustible. This is an example of how they're hot. This light here is about 1 meter away from my workbench here, while the bike's on it, and if you were to touch the frame, it feels, well, you've had the light on for 15 or so minutes, the frame is kind of warm to touch. Not hot, but warm. So if you compare that to touching a frame over there, they'll be cold to touch. So yeah, a lot of heat gets put out by these, and obviously they're not very efficient, but the lighting is quite nice on the eyes compared to LED. So that's why I've got a mixture of halogen and LEDs in my workshop. you get the benefits of both wavelengths to have good lighting. So I've got this one here which I'm about to set up, and I'm going to mount that somewhere up there to get some more light onto this side. Yeah, so that's the setup, and that's all I've got to say about the halogen work lights. They work very well if you treat them properly. If you don't treat them properly, they'll give you heaps of problems and you'll end up throwing it in the bin, because that's what most people do. Yeah, that's it.